It was not a star night for the bus lines on the Circonvallazione. I waited 20 minutes in vain for my transfer at Piazzale Lodi, and finally decided to walk the remaining 4 stops. After phoning ahead to the restaurant to say I'd be a half hour late, I arrived at Evo Milano just before 9. The restaurant's air conditioning was on the blink, and the very dim lighting made me wonder whether there might be residual power problems. But the staff was still friendly despite the beastly heat, and I was instantly brought a glass of Prosecco on the house. The tasting menu was composed of attractive-sounding courses, so I made up for lost time by ordering it almost immediately. EVO is the acronym for extra virgin olive oil, and there were 3 different oils to taste along with the bread, focaccia and taralli, the traditional unleavened bread loops from Apulia. But with each course arriving hard on the heels of the previous one, I barely had time to taste any of the oils. The negrelle from Zadruga on the western shore of Lake Garda, which you see here in the foreground, did stand out, however. There were 3 amuse-bouche, a crescent of red pepper puree flavored with orange, my favorite of the 3, a zucchini tart, and a little frittata. The minute those had been whisked away, the tris of antipasti was served. Deep-fried slices of cuttlefish with a garlic sauce and a few stalks of salicornia or sea asparagus on top, a fillet of fried gallinella, which is gurnard in English, along with a whole green friariello, a southern Italian sweet pepper, and underneath the fish a velouté of aged ricotta, and a flan of potatoes and mixed prico-prac peppers with fennel green on top. Prico-prac is an Apulian term for diced peppers preserved in olive oil. The name derives from the sound of the scissors snipping the peppers into the right size before the preservation process. Next up in the quick succession of courses was the first of 2 primi, a very colorful, chilled, ginger-perfumed cantaloupe soup with zucchini blossoms, field herbs, and edible flowers. And the second primo, Tagliolini alla carbonara di mare with cuttlefish and salicornia. There are many different ingredient options for seafood carbonara, unlike the traditional kind with guanciale and pecorino romano. Obviously, those 2 items were not included here. There was the obligatory generous sprinkling of cracked black pepper on top, of course, and the salicornia went very well with the cuttlefish. That was my favorite dish of the dinner, although the secondo which followed was a close second, so to speak. It was an imaginative take on the classic vitello tonato and had been christened Evoluzione, evolution, in a nod to the restaurant's name and the creative variation on the original theme. Here there was raw diced tuna enveloped in 3 roulades of paper-thin veal escalopes. The traditional caper anchovy sauce was revisited here with a whole anchovy fillet draped over the roulades and a few capers sliding into homemade mayonnaise. Roast potato slices were a great accompaniment, which needed no reference to the original source. Dessert wrapped things up with 4 spoonfuls of an orange-flavored cream, with a thick slice of sbrisolona, here more a cookie than a crumble cake, on top of each scoop. At the very end, an almond-shaped plate full of homemade biscottini arrived, once again with a southeastern Italian focus, as evidenced by 2 sugar-coated taralli. I had been the last guest for some time, and got the impression the staff was waiting to escape from the air-conditionless heat inside, so I paid the bill and looked forward to an uncharacteristically early night for me in Milan. The next day I was eagerly looking forward to my visit to the Triennale Design Museum.